Welcome to Tides Within, a space for honest conversations about mental and physical well-being and how we can care for ourselves in real life. This episode is especially special as it is in conjunction with International Women's Day or IWD, and this year's theme is Give to Gain. A reminder that when women give time, care, support, opportunity, and understanding, not only do others gain, we all gain as a community. Today, we're diving into mental load, the invisible labor that many women carry every day, and why it matters not just for individuals, but for the well being of families, communities, and systems. Dr. Lina, from a health perspective, what happens inside the body when someone carries prolonged mental load?
I do think that a few times we did touch on, like, about hormones. We have talked about cortisols, we have talked about flight and fight. So basically it does, all these things are related together, but I think I want to start again. So
Mm-hmm.
what does actually cause this chronic kind of mental load? So sometimes what we think is usually things like exams, work
Mm-hmm.
stress, something that usually we talk about. But things that we don't really talk about is, for example, if you are like a caregiver, you are maybe
Mm,
is someone who has maybe a sick parents that they have to go through this, where they are maybe at the young age, but they have to take on the responsibility of taking care of their parents. Maybe, their father had stroke and maybe they are bedbounded. So that kind of person who or individual who's going through that, they are also going through this like chronic mental overload when we
Yes,
don't see, we what we see and what we always address is like, oh, stress at workplace, stress at school,
correct.
stress, those kind of thing, but we don't see in that perspective, like those caregiver. And secondly, I would also touch about people who has like poverty, those kind of people, who have like need to find money on a daily basis for their family.
Yes.
They are
mm,
those people who actually going through this chronic mental overload. Because why it's chronic? Because it happens on their daily basis. Can you
Mm-hmm.
imagine not having enough money on their daily, just to buy food, just to fulfill the
Yes.
daily requirement? Yeah. Especially, I think I want to relate also this to, family leaders, like especially to the single mothers, like since it's the
mm.
International Women's Day, I think we have to address this more. So how does it now affect? So I think we have talked so much about the hormones and things, but I wanted to tell that actually brain is very, very complex thing. It's a very complex, it's like our computer, it's like our main like the main hard disk where it works. So each part of our brain, it it they have their own responsibility. So for example, we have our prefrontal, which is like
Yeah.
our frontal part here. So it does make more like like in a decision making, more on like giving our attention span. It controls our attention span, and also in terms of planning and also problem solving kind of thing. So if someone who have like this chronic mental overload, if it affects their prefrontal cortex, it does involve their, maybe for example, they have this poor concentration and even sometimes have poor judgment. I think we spoke in a previous
Mm,
episode, like, when you're so stressed, even simple things, it's so hard for you to make
Yeah.
decisions. And then you start having this, like, migraine, tension type of headaches and kind of thing. And then we do have our hippocampus. So hippocampus is part of our brain which is responsible in terms of learning,
Mm-hmm.
and also memory. So in when someone have this chronic overload stress or mental health problem, it usually weakens in terms of their memory, and also so if someone who has this problem, usually they have very short term memory. There will
Yeah.
be sometimes where, yeah, it might just happen last, or like they can't really remember some type of trauma that happened, because it's that hippocampus is the one who is controlling that part of your memory. And then we have another one which is called amygdala. So it's also part of our brain. So we have all these different part of the brain. So amygdala, it actually controls more in terms of emotion, in terms of the fear and anxiety. So when someone has this chronic mental overload, that's why they end up having anxiety and also emotional instability. They're easily irritable. So how do we, for example, I would say it's an interesting thing when you see in medical, when someone comes, for example, patient that comes to hospital, right? Uh, they tend to, for example, I had a patient who actually, their symptom was not like a paralysis or something, but it is more like mental health kind of presentation. They were more in terms of anxiety, and they have like these sweaty palms and everything. We thought it was a mental health thing, but that is why any mental health patient who comes or anyone who seeks any treatment for mental health, we have to actually medically clear them. So we
Okay.
will do a
Mm,
CT plan to make sure they don't have a mess which is in this specific part of the brain,
Yes.
making sure they
mm,
didn't suffer from a stroke. So if you realize, I don't know if you watch like those like Grey's Anatomy, or
mm,
Yeah.
have you ever seen like this episode where I think he will be like, because he's the neurosurgeon, right? So there will be changes in terms of their personality after having their
mm,
brain surgery. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because there is certain part of the brain has been touched. So it
mm,
changes your personality because as I said,
Oh,
brain
so that's
is a
real.
very it's a very complicated thing. So I do have a person like if you see like why does when someone is suffering from Alzheimer, they can tend to become like kid again. You
Yeah.
realize when
mm,
they're demented patient, they become like kid again. Why? Because it is all happening in the brain. So it touches certain part of the brain where they are responsible for certain things like I said, problem solving, decision making. So that is what makes us maturity. But what happened when they're having Alzheimer or dementia means their brain is shrunk. So what happens that they have this difficulty in, even simple decision making. Yeah. So it
mm,
is very complex, but it is all go back to the brain. I would say that. So this is how it relates back to your chronic mental overload. So it's not only about the hormones, but basically it goes back to the brain.
So you're
Interesting,
saying
right?
that because of all this overload, it can actually reach to all these problems.
Yeah. So, like I said, like amygdala, for example, it processes our emotions. So, emotions including our fear and also our like anxiety. So, when it's always activated, uh,
mm,
when it's always so that's why causes not only increased anxiety, but it keeps you over the edge, like all the time. That's why
Okay.
sometimes when someone who is already suffering from some sort of anxiety, when there is simple triggering factor, maybe for example, I don't have anxiety, but another person, okay, maybe Michelle, you have anxiety. When we have to go through something, for example, a similar exam, maybe I can go through that with no problem because I
yeah.
don't have a background. Yeah, it was not triggered. But with you, where your brain already recognized anxiety and it has been there for some time,
Mm-hmm.
trust me, it's going to be much more difficult for you to handle that kind of exam and to put you under that pressure. So you will become more irritable. It's going
Mm,
to be more harder for you to concentrate. And even without going through the exam, you might already think about failure. So that's how it works. Like, because it's
See.
like your brain already recognize what's happening to what's going to happen. It's telling you, yeah. So and based on the experience that you have gone through, yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
very interesting, right? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so it's not just to-do list, it's not constant forecasting, but it's also memory that works, that never takes a break.
Yeah, and end up that's where the symptom appears. Like I think we have spoken on the previous, like mental fatigue, anxiety, you have
mm.
memory
Yeah.
problems, you have reduced focus kind of thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And sleep disturbance and headache kind of thing.
Okay, thank you. Drona, what is your take? What is this invisible labor and emotional cost as a woman?
I think I would like to touch on the habits. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel that yes, when you change your physicality, it changes your mentality. And at the same time, when we decide, okay, this is what we want to change, and it works vice versa. So I'm going to talk from the external part.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Lina touched about the internal part, which is the brain and all. So I guess that there are things that we would need to redo, we will need to undo, and we will need to rewire, like
Mm-hmm.
for example, like how do we work on the responses,
Yeah.
something that's beyond our control, like how do we balance the chemical that is in our brains.
Yeah.
I personally feel that mindfulness plays a very important role,
Mm-hmm.
because from our previous episodes we touched about relax, how
Yes.
many of us take a break first, then we continue the work. Most of
Mm-hmm.
the time we will push through, accelerate to complete the task, then we take a break, right? So these things need to be undone. So we will need to learn how to be present. I think mindfulness, it's not like you need to find like a guru or you need to go inside a cage. It simply means do not be on an autopilot.
Yeah.
I do not know how many of you ladies have reached office without even realizing. And this happened to me 2 weeks ago. My husband asked me, okay, how did you get home? Did you take the highway and or the old road? I was like so puzzled. I'm here advocating and talking about mindfulness, but because I had this a little bit of a trouble with
Mm-hmm.
my hair, and I was constantly thinking, what do I do? What kind of treatment do I seek? Where do I go? So I was overthinking and I didn't realize how I got home. Then I thank him. I was like, thank you so much for asking me this. It took me some time to rewind and, to go back to where I was after my meeting, which road did I take? And it took me a very long time to
Yeah.
to to refresh my memory. That's why this requires practice.
I agree.
Even mindfulness,
Yeah.
whatever that you do in your day in, day out, that is going to portray on how you manage yourself, how you manage the situation. But I feel women, we struggle with these three key habits that eventually kills our confidence, which is we want to be the perfect person. Like, if you are a mother, you want to be the perfect mother. If you are a wife, in whatever role that you play, but I guess that we need to accept that nobody is perfect, no one's perfect. And let's just accept that this is who I am. I am going to do the best.
Mm-hmm.
These are the number one thing. And number two is, I guess that we fall in this trap that we are constantly a people pleaser.
Yeah.
We want to say yes to every single thing because we are so fearful of judgment. Like, what is this person going to think about us if I say no? You can just ask that extra 5 minutes. You
Yeah.
can just ask the extra 10 minutes, and it's not going to cost you anything, but it's going to have a direct consequences or impact on your mental load. Yeah, it's going to remove that thing that, yes, I have seek for help, I've asked for help,
Yeah.
and this is who I am. And then it comes about us. We are so reluctant to accept that, yes, I am beautiful, I am enough. I'm good. I'm not going to stop, but I'm going to put a pause.
Mm-hmm.
I think these are the thing that there are so many authors, so many books, so many podcasts out there. But what I would like to emphasize is let's start the practice
Yeah.
now,
Yeah, I
today,
agree.
now. It's not about waiting for International Women's Day, then we like hoo-ha, we celebrate it, and then we just forget about that. I think
Every
that
day
is
should
the
be International Women's Day, right?
yes, exactly. Every day should be Valentine's Day. Like for me, what I've learned is 10 years in my marriage, I do not expect my husband to get me the flowers. I
Mm-hmm.
have no expectations, zero expectations. After probably the third year, the fourth year, I started going to the florist and I pick up a rose, and my sons would be like, what are you doing? I said, no, this is for me. I just want
Mm-hmm.
to pause and smell that rose. I just want to pause and admire the carnation when it blooms on my
Yeah.
table. So these are the things that I've learned, that the habits that I have undo and unlearn and redo is do not seek external validation. Yes, the validation is important, but it requires a balance.
I
So
agree.
when you are emotionally intelligent, I feel that I take it as like a I am an emotionally intelligent person because I have started to rewire and to redo little things like this. And I'm very confident. Although I've made a mistake, I say yes, I'm sorry. And I'm not going to take it personally. I'm not going to think that, oh, what is Dr. Dina going to think about me? Because I keep changing the time, I'm keep asking for a break. What is Michelle going to think about me? No, I want to be very transparent. I do
Yeah.
not want to be fake. I think I've lived a fake life enough, but I
Especially when
guess
we're
that,
climbing up the ladder in our younger years, right?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I remember like not speaking up to a boss who was harassing me
Oh,
because I felt that, oh, what my parents are going to think, how is my
yeah,
future husband going to think about it,
yeah.
what is my family going to think, I didn't until one day I had this, I do not know where I got this bravery kind of a strength to tell him straight on his face. It took me years. I think about after 2 years, I could actually step up and speak up, and I had to go like so many classes of self advocacy to gain
Yeah.
that confidence, to have the confidence to say that he was wrong, no
Mm-hmm.
compromise. So
Mm-hmm.
I've also done a lot of, when I spoke to a few NGOs to empower women, I feel that that cage feelings in me disappeared when I finally spoke up and I told
Mm-hmm.
him that I am going to tell this to your wife that you're talking. And of course, he can compliment me. And, I'm fine with that. But what started happening was my boss, my manager started advising me on my dressing. And it came from a lady, not a man. She's like,
Mm-hmm.
I think your skirt is a little bit too short and your pants is a little bit too tight. And I was like, what, size zero? I was flat like a plywood. There was nothing else there to
Wow.
see. But he was like, then I was thinking, okay, maybe I'm too revealing. So I wore something like a traditional outfit, like a churidar,
Yeah.
the Indian traditional. And still he texted me, oh, you look nice in this yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And I could feel that disgust, because I could feel that he was like fantasizing me. But what I did was to gain that courage. So
Yeah.
I didn't say that it was my fault. I said, okay, I will change my dressing sense, But then I realized that why do I need to change for him, who's
Exactly.
like a pervert? So
Correct.
I feel that we women constantly change ourselves because we want to adjust, we want to fit in. I guess that we will need to change that part, that it's okay to be left out, but this is who you are. But of course, you need to be on a right track.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are the little habits, I guess, that when we talk to ourselves, talk with a lot of compassion. Do not put yourself so low. Because I couldn't share with anyone. I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
even share with my siblings because I knew they would be so upset and they would say, okay, maybe you need to leave the job. But I guess at that age, I was earning that amount of money. And I felt that that was my validation. My
Yeah.
self-worth was that salary.
Yeah.
And these are the things that I managed to overcome.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
especially when we're younger at that age, this is why we don't speak up enough because we're scared, we're immature in terms of experience. And like what you just said, and that's why there's this Thai model, her name is Cindy Bishop. She actually
Hmm.
launched in 2018 a social media campaign, Don't Tell Me How to Dress. Because a lot of the times, and
Mm.
this is now adapted by the UN Women, right? Because a lot of the times
Ah,
people blame the victims, right? This is how you dress, and so then it shifts the mindset, right, of the victim and like, oh yeah, it's really my fault. I wore a short skirt. But in actual fact, like what you just said, you even wore traditional clothing and
yeah.
still this happened. So
Exactly. So not true what you wear.
yeah, exactly. So this is why I hope that, well, this is a separate topic one day, but yeah, that people would not be afraid to speak up and accept them for who they are. I mean, like, if you're blessed with good curves, own it. You don't have to hide
Yes.
it. it's not your fault that some people cannot control yourselves, you know. If you were to live in such a way that you're so afraid of how you dress all the time, how you speak, how you carry yourself, then you'll never move forward. And I think that this would bring a different load of mental stress, you know, because you're
Yes.
always trying to keep it down, hidden, right? So
But can I just like add a
sure.
little on? Just because
Yes.
it reminded me when you said a little habit, right? So you did say
Mm-hmm.
like we have to speak nice thing, like you are beautiful, you are strong. But sometimes I do feel that the culture plays a very important role.
Mhm.
I think there's a lots of different coming from a background of like the Asian, because that's how we Asian was never taught about, being confident with ourselves. Just to share. So like for example, when I go when like in Malaysia, for example, right? If I see like a kid jump, trying to climb up a tree, a mom will say, "Oh, be careful, you'll fall down."
Mm.
That's how. But if you come like to Australia now, so since I'm in Australia, so when you see to the park, they will let their
Mm.
the kid just climb the tree. And when the kid is actually like afraid to come down, so he have climbed up but he don't know how to come down. Now I'm like, don't worry. The things that you actually say to your kids does play the role. So
Yes.
so what happened, this is why when usually when being like a background of Asian was brought up in Asian culture, when I have to face something, I face things with fear, because
Mhm.
I
Mm.
was told, like, oh, I
Don't
have
do
to wash
this. Don't do that.
don't do that. It will cause this. It will burn. Don't touch that. It will burn your hand. But instead,
Mm.
here they ask you, they actually encourage you to do, so that you don't have fear. Why do you want to fear just because of climbing? It's actually fun. See the beauty from the above the tree kind of thing. And a second thing I would just want to share to Joanna, because it's so interesting, like how you say, for us to talk and how to breathe. Sometimes working in a hospital, I don't have time to breathe. I truly tell you,
Mm.
sometimes I think I really forget to breathe. And
Mm.
plus, I talk very fast, so I think like I'm always breathless. But one thing that I find very interesting that I wanted to share, I think I spoke to Michelle about this before. So in our women's toilet for the staff, so if you
Uh-huh.
go, we have like this huge mirror. So on that mirror, it's written, "You're beautiful, you're
Mhm.
strong, you're doing great." And we even have like so we do have like another brand like Sephora, but in Australia. So they have this like a sample kit. So we do have like a concealer, we have
Mm.
foundations, we have lipsticks, we have blushes, which they put it on like a box with cotton bud and things. So you can still like use, it's for sharing,
Yeah.
but it's with
Mm.
hygiene. Yeah, so you can
Hygiene.
just
Yeah.
use. Yeah, so do you know, just by going, so for example, maybe after like 5 hours of working, you forgot to breathe and you just need a breather, right? Just go
Mhm.
to the
Mm.
toilet and you see all these good things. So it reminds you, while you're working, you're doing great. So even while I'm
Yes.
walking towards like the main door of the hospital, you know what is written there? Thank you for all the emergency department work hard,
Mm.
staff, for your hard
Mm.
work and keeping us healthy. Do you
Mm.
know that simple thin kind of messages, actually it does makes your day and it does change your mood. Yeah. So it was like an interesting thing. But all I see, sometimes it's not about ourselves. Sometimes
Yes.
I feel that environment plays a role. Like,
A
how
role.
Yes.
can
Yes.
we make our environment better? Yeah, in a working place, even at home, to show that, to give you like inspiration or things that, so that you always remember you are being appreciated, you are
Mhm.
doing things. Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. So I find it very like amazing, these different cultures and things. Yeah, that
Yeah, I
I think
love
good
that,
things
you
should be
know.
adapted. Yeah.
And it's something that we could do at home as well, you know. Yeah, in those days, you know, before I got married, I used to put sticky notes to remind myself that I was good enough, you know. So but now I
Mm.
kind of feel like, yeah, I'm not sharing my, I mean, I'm sharing my room now, so it's kind of weird to have that sticker there, and then like my husband will see it and it's like, what's wrong with you, you know?
I think you need to restart.
Yeah, so
Reset that. Reset that.
But even for
Yeah.
women's, right? Trust me, I just like when your husband says something to you, like something nice, it
Mm-hmm.
just makes your day.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that
He
really does.
Yeah, like even a simple thing like, oh, you look nice on that, like wearing that. It does make your day, right? Like, so
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Reminders to all the husbands or even fathers who's outside there, say good things to the girls, to the
Mm-hmm.
women.
And I would say to everybody else as well, there are times like when we do trainings or when I'm in a meeting, and if a lady wears a really pretty dress, right, I will
Yes,
compliment
I would
her.
always
I
compliment.
will always,
Yeah,
or like
me
if she
too.
has a pretty shade in her nail color or her makeup, I will definitely tell her. Some people they appreciate it, and some people they go like they don't know what to do, because it's not common to compliment another woman, right?
Yes,
But I
yes.
think it's
And
And
something that we could do.
yeah, and we don't know how to receive a compliment.
Yes.
Like,
yes,
yeah, we don't know how to receive like sometimes you because you rarely receive compliment because we don't have the culture of complimenting others that you don't know like here you just like it made me like to think. I realized that when I like want to go back, like my specialist will just say like thank you for your hard work for today, thank
mm,
you, that simple gestures, but I don't know how to take it like, oh, you did great today, but I don't know how to take that compliments. Like I do feel
yes.
like, is there like sarcasm or is that,
Mm-hmm.
but they're actually really being, yeah, it's like a
Genuine.
genuine kind of thing. But yeah, because we never received that kind of compliments before.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this is where we need to shift our mindset as well. That if we got a compliment, accept it, right? It's a reminder,
Yeah.
right? It's a
And I
kind.
think we also need to give more to
Mm-hmm.
people. So that's why, give to gain, right? So
Yes.
you give compliments, not only gifts, but even just your beautiful smile. I
Mm-hmm.
guess that I do not know how many people out there, they are all fighting their own battles.
Yes.
But when we just smile, even to a stranger, who's probably having this idea that I'm not worthy, what do I do? That your smile could just brighten up someone else's
Mm-hmm.
day,
Mm-hmm.
who's a total stranger. So I guess what we would also need to change if we didn't receive it from like the lady bosses, like one that I was telling. I told myself, no, Drona, I do not want to be that person anymore. So how much I can reach out to the community, to our girls, like I know
Yes.
I raised two boys. So I realized that I have more work because I have to tell them what to say, what not to say, how to treat girls. So like sometimes my niece, when she wears shorts and all, then my sons would come to me and say, why is she wearing like this? Why is she wearing so short? I could see her panties, Then I'll be like, you have an option, just
Mm-hmm.
not, don't see. So I'm not going to tell them to tell her to change or get her to, I'm not
Yes.
even going to go and tell her. So these are the little things that I guess that as a mother, as a lady, as an individual, I learned I cannot change another person, but I can change someone. Like I can mentor my kids,
Yes.
and I'm not in a position to tell to someone else to change
Mm-hmm.
just because my kids are feeling uncomfortable. You
Yeah.
know, and I guess that these are the little things. It acts also as a self reminder. What are we doing for ourselves
Mm-hmm.
as a lady, as a mother?
Yeah.
This trap that we are always in, that we need to be perfect, that we need to do the we need to give and give and give, and at the end of the day, you might be questioning yourself, hey, what am I gaining from here? But I guess that the secret to giving is you will gain. It's just that the universe knows when the best to give us back.
Mm-hmm.
So we give without any stress. So
Yeah.
I just want to quickly share about this community group that I got into. And I realized that teachers or whoever who wants to be part of the community service, they're expecting for to be paid. So I just want to check with you ladies, what
Oh.
would you do? Yeah. What do you
Ah.
think that, like, this is for a group of school girls, a community outreach.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, for me, I feel that don't pay me because this is my service, my
Yes.
community service. But what do you think? Do you think that they need to be paid, like whoever teaches who's teaching all this extra tuitions, or it should be given FOC, and the money, the funding that they have gotten, use it for the B40 students?
Yeah, so I would say it depends, normally when it comes to community work, right, it should be free. But unless
Mm-hmm.
there is a budget, like let's say, okay, we want to appreciate our trainers because they're gonna contribute X amount of time, and there is a token that is set aside, then yeah, they should be paid. But the trainers who are part of it should not demand for it, they should
Mm,
be coming there like, okay, I'm doing it for free because, I want to give back. But then again, there are people who do it as a living, right? So they say like, I train people and this is how I earn my income. So I think it really depends on the situation.
Dr. Lina?
Yeah, I'll take that like how Misha has put it. I think that will be the best way. But saying that, right? I have also like another part. For example, like if you're at the end of the receiver, if something given free to you, right, you wouldn't appreciate it that much. Like I
Mm,
would put it in such way, for example, if you if you are going for like a diet program, I just give another example. I know you did give like a community kind of service kind of example. I would just go, for example, if you need a coach,
mm,
and if you're paying the coach, you will work hard for it. But if you're not
mm,
paying, you're just getting free, you wouldn't work as hard as it is. So it depends what is the situation like and what is the purpose like, what is the budget
Mm-hmm.
like. I will agree with Michelle. So and if it's they're doing it for a living, ideally should I mean we can't expect everything to be free, especially at this kind of era. Yeah.
okay, all right. So I
Okay, so
hope
as
that
we
our
need to wrap
listeners will
up,
get.
sorry, Drona.
Yeah,
So we need to
yeah.
wrap up. Drona, what is one key takeaway our listeners should bring back with them?
I think the three key habits, we need to relook at that and try to undo something, redo something that you have not been doing. The little appreciation, the self affirmation, the self talk, a positive self talk, and I guess that it's okay to be a imperfectly perfect women,
Mm-hmm.
but just enjoy that moment and enjoy life.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Dr. Lina? What's one key takeaway for our listeners today?
Uh, just a simple key take will be like everybody play a role. So if you
Mm-hmm.
want
Mm,
to do some changes, for me, it just can't be one individual. So for example,
mm,
is I would say that me myself, yes, I have to talk good things about myself. Like example, like how I will talk to my best friend or to my loved one. So that's the way how I should talk to myself. But same thing is when you are talking to someone else, you should learn how to respect. Like Donna has said, we have to show them some love, some kindness, because we don't know what are they going through in their life
Correct.
at that moment of time.
Yeah.
And if the next will be the environment, so that we can support each other, especially in terms of women. Yeah. So it's not a person's or individual role, but for me, everyone plays a role so that we can build a better community.
Mm-hmm. And my question to our listeners out there is that what is one mental load that you can share and invite someone into your space today? Thank you for being here today. If this episode resonated, share it with someone who carries invisible labor, someone who needs to hear. You don't have to do it all alone. We're here to explore well being together. This is Tides Within, where care becomes shared strength.